For better picture quality, adjust tracking control on your VCR.
Welcome to the darkest hour.
When the clock strikes 12 and the veil between worlds thins, join us. Welcome to the darkest hour. Welcome to Rabbi Joe's Midnight Monster Manor.
Bowman Boo! I'm Rabbi Joe, keeper of keys and cobwebs here at the Midnight Monster Manor. I bring the light, but don't get too close. This beard is flammable. Even my assistant, Mr. Bones, is dying to see tonight's creature feature.
Flying saucers have invaded our planet. Washington, London, Paris, Moscow are key targets. The whole world is under attack. Can it survive?
The survivors of a disintegrated solar system. At this moment, the remainder of our fleet is circling your globe.
What do you want with me?
Arrange for your world leaders to confer with us in the city of Washington.
They set up an electronic screen. The artillery doesn't penetrate.
Never before has the screen reached such heights of excitement. Breathtaking spectacle. Hair-raising terror. See the saucermen's high-frequency disintegrator. See flying saucers travel thousands of miles in seconds. See great cities leveled by flying saucer monsters.
Russ, look.
The same kind of thing that's watched us since the beginning of the project.
People of Earth, attention. People of Earth, attention. This is a voice speaking to you from thousands of miles beyond your planet.
They're coming down to take over. They made that clear to us in the saucer. To the best of our knowledge, my wife and I are the only ones left alive.
What if circumstances were to magnify one of them in size and strength, took it out of its primitive world and turned it loose in ours? Then expect something that's fiercer, more cruel and deadly than anything that ever walked the earth.
Even science was stunned. The new atomic miracle should have been mankind's greatest boon. Instead, when such power to cause phenomenal growth proved dangerously unstable, man was confronted with his most shocking blunder.
The isotope triggered our nutrient into a nightmare.
A blunder that transformed a tiny insect into the 100-foot spider that was now ravaging the panic-stricken countryside.
Steady. Now!
everyone in the theater hold on firmly to his seat, please?
Stop it! Stop it!
I'm Vincent Price. What unearthly horror did that girl gaze upon? What manner of incredible thing walked beneath that hood? It would be unfair at this time to show you any more of what went on in that laboratory where a man actually dared to play God. So fantastic, words can't begin to describe it. You must see it with your own eyes to believe it. When the fly comes your way.
It isn't like any other fly I've ever seen.
Leave it alone! No! No! Please let me look at the fly. I've killed Andre. Please help me. Call the police and...
The charge can only be murder.
There were no mistresses. I had no lovers.
Why did you kill him?
God, don't let it get out.
Inspector, it's in the garden. Come quickly.
As God is my witness, I saw the thing. It's unbelievable. I shall never forget that scream as long as I live.
The fly's on its way. Watch out for it. It's far beyond anything your mind could ever conceive.
Enter the cavern of unknown horrors. Listen.
What's that noise?
I don't know.
See, the only existing specimen of a spider, bigger than a human.
Man, I better find out what made this creature so big. And find out fast, or we're all going to be in pretty serious trouble.
For shocking, skin-crawling excitement, meet face to face 50 creeping tons of black horror. See the spider.
Shalom Aleichem, creatures of the night. Rabbi Joe reporting for duty, armed with kosher DDT, extra strength.
Oi, careful with that. That's Boris, our decorator.
Boris looked like a volunteer blood donor.
He spins the trim for the drapes.
And he's unionized, so hands off.
No, I'll relocate him gently. One puff for persuasion.
Shalom Aleichem, my little golems and golemettes. Welcome back to Rabbi Joe's Midnight Monster Manor, the only show where we battle the Yetzer Hara and giant radioactive arachnids at the same time. Tonight we've got a real service maker from 1958, Earth versus the Spider, or as the drive-in marquees called it, simply the Spider. The trailer said that too, as we saw earlier, but no print exists where it just says the Spider. We'll talk about that a little later. One sleepy town, one very large bug with an appetite bigger than a bar mitzvah buffet, and enough DDT to make your bubby plots from the fumes. So grab your popcorn, your mikvah water, your bug spray, and maybe a talus for extra protection. It's going to be a completely meshugana night. This is Bird Eye Gordon's classic film, Earth versus the Spider. But first, to get us in the proper eight-legged mood, let's check into a very special establishment. Before we face the big one, let's start small, or at least smaller. Here's a honeymoon that goes from mazel tov to oy vey real quick. Enjoy the Cobweb Hotel from 1936. Whatever you do, don't order the fly soup. All right.
Spend the night at the Cobweb Hotel. You find that the service is swell. Now you needn't be shy, I won't harm a fly. Spend the night at the Cobweb Hotel. Come into my parlor, please do. In a while all your cares will be through. There'll be no rent to pay, 'cause you'll be here to stay. Spend the night at the Cobweb Hotel. The register. You'll be very pleased. Newlyweds. Thank you. Now make yourselves at home while I prepare your room. I'll be right back. Come into my parlor, please do. Here is your sweet. Juicy morsel.
See, even in 1936 they knew never trust a hotel with too many cobwebs. Now we're going to go to our feature presentation, Bert I. Gordon's classic Earth vs. the Spider. Now that's an interesting title because it's also a movie that tried to cash in on so many other movies. First of all, the title, Earth vs. the Spider, trying to cash in on Earth vs. the Flying Saucers, which came out 2 years earlier, Columbia classic, with special effects by none other than the great Ray Harryhausen. Nothing to do with this movie except a similar title, and also nothing to do with Earth vs. Soup. Sorry, Crow from Mystery Science Theater 3000. The movie itself is more similar to a 1955 movie from Universal, Tarantula, which starred John Agar, Leo G. Carroll, and the lovely Mara Corday. And actually, at the end of the movie, it was none other than Clint Eastwood who killed that tarantula. But again, not the same movie. Now, although the original title and in all prints, as we mentioned before, was Earth vs. the Spider, even though it's not Earth fighting the Spider, it's just one little town and their high school, they actually changed the title in most of the advertising simply to The Spider. Why? Because Warner Brothers the year before, 1957, had their great classic, The Fly, with Vincent Price. And so they figured, oh, Bert thought we'll try to, and American International thought, oh, we'll just try to cash in on The Fly. This is The Spider. Actually, the movie was somewhat remade in the early 2000s for cable TV, where there were a bunch of movies similar to that, where they took the titles of old American International movies and somewhat remade them, but not really. This was a case in point where the newer version of Earth vs. the Spider was really more similar to Spider-Man, actually. But here we are. Igor the Skeleton, please roll the film Earth vs. the Spider.
Projector's warmed up, Rebbe. Midnight show coming right up.
Good, Igor. Let the images roll.
Focusing.
There we go.
Crisp as a matzo cracker.
Ah, Rabbi Joe sure knows how to set a
Enjoy,
movie.
Rebbe.
Thank
wait. Hi.
Hi, Mike.
Well, hey, wake up. This is Mike, remember? The boy with a golden heart and the memory of an elephant. Look, I remembered, see? Happy birthday, Carol.
Thanks.
Well, aren't you going to open it?
Not now.
What's wrong?
It's Dad. He didn't come home last night.
So what? You know it doesn't mean a thing. I mean, you know how he is.
What do you mean I know how he is?
Well, nothing. Where didn't he come home from last night?
Well, he went to Springdale yesterday to buy me a present. He said he'd be back before dinner last night, but he still hasn't come back yet.
Well, that doesn't mean a thing, Carol. I mean, it isn't the first time.
You're mean, Mike. And I don't want your silly present either. Here!
The electrons jump from one electrode to the other because of the difference in the electrical potential between the two poles. Now, this one is the negative pole, from which electricity flows to the positive pole. We call the positive pole what?
Anode.
Correct. The negative pole?
Cathode.
Good. If the voltage applied to these electrodes is increased to a greater amplitude, the electrical arc in turn will be greater. The larger the arc becomes, the more dangerous it is to anything that may be placed in its path. And one thing to remember is that the flow of electrons is always from the negative to the positive. The reason for this is that the positive pole has higher electrical potential. Now, on a simple voltaic cell, the positive electrode is made of copper, the negative of zinc. A similar experiment to the one we've conducted here was recently carried out at Wisconsin Tech, using a voltage many thousands of times greater, which produced a spark closely simulating actual lightning. It isn't the voltage that creates the hazard, it's the amount of current flow. If a man were to come in contact with a high voltage without a direct path to ground, it's probable that he wouldn't be harmed. However, if the circuit's completed to ground, the current will flow unhampered and cause him to be electrocuted. Now for our next experiment. If Mike, Carol, and Joe have finished their business.
Oh, at this hour, better not be another Meshuggah salesman trying to sell me life insurance for golems. I don't... Yeah, hello? Oh, hi, Sandra. Yes, this is Rabbi Joe's Midnight Monster Manor. Who's calling, please? The giant spider? From the cave? Well, isn't that nice? And he's calling collect. Well, of course he is. Because why would a giant radioactive arachnid pay for his own phone call? Oh, go ahead, operator. I'll accept the charges. Wait, I gotta pick up this safer. Hold on a second. That's only because it's after midnight, so the charges are less, and I'm a nice person. Yeah, put him through. Yes, I saw the movie. Yeah, very impressive. You ate the entire high school rock and roll band. Mazel tov. That must have been very filling. What's that? You're still hungry? Listen, Mr. Spider, or should I call you Dr. Eight Legs? Have you tried eating something normal for a change? A nice bowl of chicken soup with a knedel? Some potato kugel? Oh, my wife makes a Lakshan kugel so heavy it could anchor a battleship. One bite and you'll plots right there in the cave. Wait a minute. You're complaining about the DDT they sprayed on you? You're complaining? Mister, That stuff costs the town budget more than my entire congregation's building fund. And you're upset because it made you sneeze? Well, excuse me. Next time I'll tell the sheriff to use Febreze. Excuse me, giant monster. Would you mind not destroying the entire town while I freshen the air? You know, you're going to drive me to drinking. I need a little bit of Manischewitz here. I usually only drink on Shabbos. Come on, look, I'm trying to be reasonable here. You have 8 legs. That's already more than most people in my shul can stand during the Yom Kippur Amida standing prayer. You're big. You're strong. You spin beautiful webs. Why don't you do something constructive with your life? Could you knit? My daughter likes to crochet. You could make talesim for the whole shul. I could get you a nice wholesale deal on yarn. What? You don't knit? You only wrap up things and suck out their juices? Well, that's a very limited skill set if you ask me. I mean, my Aunt Sadie could wrap gefilte fish better than you, and she only had 2 hands. Oh, for heaven's sake, now you want me to come down to the cave and give you a bris? At your size with those fangs? Mister, I'm a rabbi, I'm not even a moil, and I'm certainly not a veterinarian. Besides, the moil I know charge extra for anything with more than 4 legs. Well, what's that? You're lonely? All the other bugs are afraid of you? And you don't have any elephants come out to play on your spider's web? Well, join the club. Try coming to our Friday night Kabbalah Shabbos services. We've got plenty of lonely people. You could start a supports group, Arachnids Anonymous. The first meeting is free, but you got to bring the snacks. And the snacks cannot be teenagers. Well, I'll tell you what. If you promise to stop eating the marching band and start paying for your own collect calls, I'll put in a good word with the town council. Maybe that we can find you a nice abandoned warehouse, plenty of room, good ventilation, no DDTs on Tuesdays. Hello? Hello? He hung up. Figures. Even the giant spider won't listen to free advice. And after I accept the charges. Next time I'm just going to let the phone ring. Kids these days. And spiders these days, the same thing.
Amen.
What in the world is that?
It's a spider, a giant spider!
Run! Watch the restaurant! Get back!
Shema Yisrael Adonai Elohim.
I can't blame people for what they think. Even Mother says he must have run into some of his old cronies and stayed in town. He had his paycheck with him. But I know it isn't true. Not this time. He promised he'd be back. I know something's happened to him.
Sure it did. Maybe he ran out of gas. He'd never meet anybody on this road. Hold everything. What do you call that? Stuff? I don't get it. Stuck to the tree up there and switched across the highway. I guess between 2 trees.
Who would do a thing like that?
I don't know. I don't even know what this stuff is. You know, it looks like there's been an accident around here or something. This figures. A guy driving along last night hits this thing stretched across the highway and cracks it up. See the glass? Wouldn't do too good for Joe's tires, would it? You know, maybe that's what happened to your old man.
Where is he now?
Oh, I wouldn't worry about that, Carol. He's probably hanging around some garage waiting for a busted fender to get fixed.
Carol with Love, Dad.
Okay, so he dropped it when the accident happened. What of it?
If he was all right, he wouldn't leave it laying here. And if he was in a garage, he'd call Mother and let her know. What's that down there?
There's no pickup truck.
That's what Dad was driving. It's Dad!
Good thing he got out of it in time.
What if he didn't? Dad! Dad!
Now, what good will that do?
Well, if he's hurt, he could still be around somewhere.
That's right, he could be. But he isn't. Unless he went in the cave.
Oh, he wouldn't go in there.
I never believed those stories about the cave. Maybe he doesn't either. You know, it got pretty cold last night. Suppose he couldn't walk far. I wanted to, well, keep warm until help came. Come on, let's go take a look.
Find anything, Mike?
Oh, no.
Do you really think he could be in there?
Well, I don't know. Wait a minute. Maybe I better go in. You wait here, will you?
Oh, be careful.
Tired of eight-legged mess hugginers in your basement? Spray Rabbi Joe's Kosher Dalit Dalit Test, now with extra garlic. One spritz and even the biggest spider will plotz and say,
Oi, this stuff is stronger than my mother-in-law.
Rabbi Joe's Kosher Giant Spider Repellent, because a kosher home deserves...
Shalom, my friends. Let's schmooze a little bit about the real stars behind tonight's eight-legged Tsuris. This 1958 masterpiece, a budget so low it could have been financed by my cousin Morty's poker game, was directed, produced, written, sort of, and special effects did by the one and only Bert I. Gordon, better known to horror fans as Mr. Big, because the man never met a miniature he didn't want to blow up to Godzilla size, and his initials, Bert I. Gordon, spelled B-I-G. I actually met him once, and we're going to talk about that a little later. Now, Bert was the king of the giant monster cheapy movie, but the way he did it generally was not like Godzilla, that was big rubber monsters, but he would usually take actual animals or people and usually photographically blow them up to giant size and sometimes shrink them down, as we'll see later, and all these things are actually mentioned in this movie as well. Now, he gave us the amazing Colossal Man, where a guy grows to 60 feet tall and stomps on Las Vegas, as well as the sequel, The War of the Colossal Beast. Now, then there's Beginning of the End, where Peter Graves fights giant grasshoppers that eat Chicago. Hoy, the locusts. Maybe they were kosher locusts. Attack of the Puppet People was the one where he actually shrunk people down. And then he had Village of the Giants, again, made people and animals big. The Cyclops, another great one, where it had all kinds of lizards and bugs and reptiles together with a giant human monster. So you name the oversized pest, Bert made it. And get this, he turned his movie making into a family affair. His wife, Flora Gordon, was right there on the crew, helping with everything from props to continuity on pictures like The Boys and the Pirates, and in this movie as well, she is credited as an assistant for the technical effects. Later on, including in Attack of the Puppet People and in Tormented, which was a ghost movie, as well as Picture Mommy Dead, Bert brought his daughter, their daughter Susan, as kid roles. Now, that was the whole Gordon family basically running a monster factory out of their garage. Talk about quality time. Susan, later known as Shoshana by her Hebrew name, actually became a Balat Tshuva, Balas Tshuva. She got back to the Orthodox Jewish religion. Her and her husband actually for a while lived in Japan, where they served as the leaders of the Jewish community in Tokyo, and then later they settled in Teaneck, New Jersey. Out of their home, actually, just about every synagogue in Teaneck, of which there are many, started as a congregation that was in their basement, actually. So they were actually big leaders of the community in Teaneck. Let's get back to our cast. We have our square-jawed hero, Ed Kemmer, as Professor Art Kingman, a science teacher who's supposed to save the day but mostly just yells, "Look out," a lot. Now, before that, he was on the Space Patrol TV show in the early 50s, but actually was also in Alfred Hitchcock, the movie The Giant from the Unknown, as well as he was also on Combat, and also was actually in the episode of The Twilight Zone, Terror 20,000 Feet, together with Bill Shatner. And I hope Svengoolie can forgive me, he was also one time in Perry Mason. The screaming teenage girlfriend is June Kennedy as Carol Flynn. She does more running and shrieking than actual acting, but that's a job description for a 1958 horror movie. She was in other B movies, such as the one that Roger Corman got a kick out of trying to get the longest title possible, the saga of the Viking women and their voyage to the waters of the great sea serpent. She also worked together again with Bird-Eye Gordon in Attack of the Puppet People, which is, as we mentioned, referenced in this movie. Her boyfriend is Mike, is played by Eugene Person. Now, he was actually later on a film producer, but he started off as an actor. Movies like this one, Earth Rises the Spider and Bloodlust, which June Kennedy was also in. He actually started off as one of the kids, the many kids, in the Mom Pa Kettle movies, which kind of similar to how in The Simpsons, you know, Cletus the slack-jawed yokel had the joke about having so many kids. That's really a reference to Mom Pa Kettle's skit. But later on, he went to actually be a movie and stage producer, and was actually the co-producer and co-creator, together with Arthur Whitelaw, of the famous musical You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, of course based on the Peanuts cartoons. And that show won a Tony Award in 1999. And also he worked on a musical stage version shortly before his passing of the Charlie Brown Christmas. The overwhelmed local cop is Gene Roth. We saw him in other movies such as the Attack of the Giant Leeches and many others. He plays Sheriff Cagle. The poor guy looks like he'd rather be directing traffic at a parade than fighting a giant spider. But I think the real scene stealer in this movie is the high school janitor Hugo. He was played by none other than Hank Patterson. Yes, that Hank Patterson, the same lovable old codger who later became Fred Ziffel on Green Acres, the guy who owned or was the father of Arnold the Pig. Now, by the time Green Acres started in 1965, Hank was already in his late 70s and nearly deaf. The producers had to work around it with lots of close-ups, careful blocking, and Hank learning his lines by feel and memory. Yet he stole every scene with his grumpy charm, just as he did in this movie. And the truth is, Bird-Eye Gordon must have loved to work with Hank, because he was in 4 different Bird-Eye Gordon movies. This one, Earth vs. the Spider, Beginning of the End, The Giant Grasshoppers, and the 2 movies that are referenced in this movie, the one we see the poster of, The Amazing Colossal Man, and the one that Mike mentions, Attack of the Puppet People. I guess this man was basically Bert's good luck charm with a broom. Now, screen credits go to Laszlo Gorog and George Worthington Yates. These are names that, it was Bert's story idea, but these were names that we see in so many storylines of the classic monster movies, like It Came From Beneath the Sea and many others. The eerie music that makes your spine plots, that's Albert Glasser, and who again did many music for many of these 50s B movies, and the glorious slightly wobbly giant spider puppet. So Bird-Eye Gordon had a real spider for many of the scenes, but he also managed to get the great Paul Blaisdell, together with his brother, to make the armature legs that would attack the people, and also the mannequins of the desiccated corpses that were eaten. Was really only one that they used with different costumes for two different scenes of these monsters, that the victims of the spider. So bottom line, folks, you know what the budget was for this movie? $146,000. A cast that doubled as a family, one nearly deaf janitor who later raised a famous pig, and enough fake webs to redecorate the whole manor here. It's low-budget magic, and we wouldn't have it any other way. So next time you see a giant spider on the screen, just remember somewhere, Flora Gordon is probably still sweeping up the fake legs. All right. Let's get back to the movie.
Oh, be careful. Mike?
What?
You won't go very far, will you? People have gone in there and never come out again. Mike? Mike?
Oh, I told you to stay outside. Now, what's the idea of following me?
Mike, I'm scared of being alone. Do you see any sign of him?
Well, we wouldn't be right here near the opening if you wanted to keep warm. I'm gonna go a little further in.
I'm going with you.
It's no use. He doesn't seem to be in here either.
Oh, let's not give up yet, please, Mike.
Who said anything about giving up? We're just getting started. Now, this cave is supposed to go way back under that mountain forever.
Dad? Dad! 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 Dad!
Dad.
How'll we ever find him in a place this big? Mike, let's go this way. Dad? Dad? Dad! Dad? Oh, Mike. Mike, I think we better go back.
I think you're right.
But I can't go without...
We might as well look a little further, I guess.
Mike, I can't see.
You okay, Carol?
I think so. What is this thing we fell in?
I don't know. Awfully sticky, though. Can hardly get loose.
I know, I can't. It's just like glue.
You know, it's like that ropey stuff we found up on the road.
What's that noise?
I don't know. It's a regular net we're on, you know that?
There it is again. Mike, what is it?
I can't say for sure without having it analyzed, but it does look like a large piece of natural silk.
What did we tell you?
But that doesn't necessarily prove there's a giant spider. That part's pretty hard to swallow.
But we saw it.
Believe me, my son is not in the habit of lying, Mrs. Kingman.
That isn't what Helen meant. Whether we believe their story or not, the man to see about it is the sheriff.
Yeah, sure. See the sheriff. We did.
He didn't believe them.
Sheriff's office. Oh, yes, Mr. Kingman. What can I do for you? Oh, don't go yet. It's only that high school teacher. Well, you know these teenagers as well as I do, Mr. Kingman. Yeah, what will they pull next, huh? Spiders. I told them to bring me one, and I'd believe it.
Well, I can't say I blame you, Sheriff. Naturally, I didn't call you up to get you to investigate abnormal insect life. But Flynn's still missing, I believe. The youngsters found traces of him out there. You may be doing yourself a favor if you looked into that.
Well, you took the words right out of my mouth, Mr. Kingman. The fact of the matter is I've got my Deputy Sanders out rounding up a search party right now. Get half a dozen men. Spencer, Haskell, maybe old Jake, anyone else that isn't busy. Bring them here and I'll swear them in. Well, I'll need those two kids with us to point things out. And if you want to come along, too, that's fine. Oh, don't you worry. We'll bring rifles in case we run into that spider. Anything else on your mind?
Well, speaking of spiders, are you sure rifles are just the thing? Insects have a pretty simple nervous system, Sheriff. You could plug holes in one all day and never hit a vital spot. If you want to be on the safe side, call the pest control people in Springdale. Have them send out all the DDT they can find.
Good. A giant spider. What next?
Next time you find yourself in a radioactive cave,
Little chumettes may be hiding. 1 second.
bring a Midnite Monster Manor brand cave-safe flashlight.
New jazz hands, very nice.
Built to survive one giant spider attack or...
Manor. And now, back to Rabbi Joe's Midnight Monster Manor. Tonight's feature, the 1958 Bert I. Gordon classic, Earth vs. the Spider, from American International Pictures.
What next? Well, bring your bug juice and let's go.
Hey, what are we using it on?
Does it make any difference?
Well, I've got to mix the DDT according to what you want killed.
What'll I tell him, Professor? Spiders?
A 2 to 4% solution is the usual dose.
Make it 50.
Which way, kids?
Straight ahead.
Some place. Make a nice elk's haul, you know that? You think we'll find that girl's pa in here alive?
We might. Spiders have a habit of studying their prey with venom and storing them in a silk bag till they're ready to feed on them.
Then they eat them up, I suppose.
Not quite. They drain the liquid from the bodies, leaving only the skin and bones.
Man, what a mind you've got. All right, let's look for Flynn. And don't lose sight of the man next to you. No sense in anyone getting lost. Just a minute. This is a waste of time. You know something? I haven't seen a spider yet, and I don't think we will.
You will if he's still there.
It'd be just our luck if he'd moved into the next county.
I don't think you'll be disappointed. There's something in here, all right. You naturally expect to find a certain amount of wildlife in a cave, rats, mice, bats, and so on. But you don't. They've been frightened out.
Ah. No wildlife, eh, Kingman? That's about as big as they come, I'd say.
I wouldn't handle it if I were you. It might have rabies.
There, it's buried.
Want to say a few words over it, Sheriff?
It's your father.
When you get back to town, make out a coroner's report. Just put down Jack Flynn as the name, and the cause of death,
It was the spider. Drained all the liquid out of his body.
Just put down cause unknown, and let the coroner worry about the rest. That's the trouble with you eggheads. You jump to conclusions. I know what I see, and I see a dead man. But I don't see any spider.
We can do something about that. Mike, where was the web?
Right through there. Wait a minute. You don't know what you're doing. You can't just walk in there.
Why not?
Find any giant spiders, Sheriff?
Oh, shut up. Get that DDT in here quick.
Here, you better put these on.
I suggest you spray that whole cavern so it'll get it when it comes back.
From Spider House Records comes the web you're going to want to get caught in. Best Spider Hits. Over 60 minutes of chart-climbing arachnid anthems on one amazing collection. 10 killer tracks including Web of Love, Eight-Legged Groove, Arachnofunk, and the crowd favorite Trapdoor Dancer. Available on CD, cassette, and limited edition vinyl. Only $14.99 plus shipping and handling. Call now to get...
Do you want to spin more webs? Sure, we all do.
Hey there, webheads. Sammy Spinner's here. Yeah, the guy from the sitcom My 8 Dads. When I'm not dropping punchlines, I'm dropping mail. Webmail, that is. I started the Spider Correspondence Academy so you can learn to weave like a pro right from home. You'll master classic orb patterns, business webs, even catch-friendly designs. Graduate.
Watch this. Now get out there and spin something amazing.
Straight from the labs at Spinny Toys, it's the Giant Spider Maker, the only toy that turns an ordinary household spider into a friendly 8-legged giant using genuine uranium pellets.
Let's grow him, sis!
Okay. Just drop in a glowing pellet, twist the atomic dial, and watch your little crawler become a whopping, lovable pal in science.
Giddy up, Spidey! Yahoo!
Creepy crawlers, creepy crawlers, creepy crawlers.
Now, you can make all kinds of lovely things like these with Mattel's wonderful Thing Maker. It makes creepy crawlers, spiders, lizards, snakes, dragonflies. Make them yourself with this nice plastic goop. Choose a mold, pour in the goop, heat it, and presto changeo, you've got bugs. Squiggly, squirty bugs. They feel so soft and natural. You get 4 different colors of goop and special paints. Make charming lizard pins or spider rings. You can collect them or spread them around. After all, they're fun for the entire family. Get Mattel's new Thing Maker with creepy crawlers. You can tell it's Mattel. It's swell.
Carol, you think it'd be better if I talk to your mother first?
No, thanks. I can do it.
I really believe you can.
The box with the bracelet.
Are you sure you had it?
It was in this pocket. Maybe I dropped it in there.
You can't go back there now. The place is full of gas.
We'll come back some other time together.
Hey, Haskell, when you get back to town, tell old Warren to get right out here and board this entrance up.
Right, Sheriff.
Well, if you do, I'd suggest you put a big wide door in it. The whole world is going to want to come here and take a look at that thing down there.
Well, what's your idea? That the town should charge admission?
That isn't what I was thinking of. You know what we eggheads are like, Sheriff. We want to know why this, how come that, what about the other. That's a matter of scientific interest to find out what made that creature tick.
Well, it's too late now. It's dead.
The spider is, but not the principle that caused it to grow. That's still for us to discover.
Well, why bother?
We have to put an end to it. Otherwise, there may be more giant spiders coming into the world. They may even be hatching from their eggs in some remote spot right now. Do you realize how easy it would be for them to overcome us humans? Then instead of being the hunters, we'd become the hunted. They'd be our masters. They'd live on us.
Well, what would you suggest the sheriff's office of River Falls do about it, Mr. Kingman?
Bring that spider up into the daylight, where it can be studied properly.
Well, if you want to do it, go ahead. But leave me out. It's not my job, and I don't want any part of it.
Okay, Sheriff. Ugly creature, isn't it?
I can think of more suitable subjects for my camera club to take pictures of. What are you going to do with them? Send it to the papers?
Oh, just the opposite. One big advantage of living in an isolated mountain community like River Falls is not having reporters crawling all over the place. Yet. I'm going to send these photographs along with a complete report to Dr. Bergen. State you. Nancy, would you get me some close-ups, please?
Oh, sure.
Good old Bergen. I had him for biology in my junior year. You know, I know exactly what he's going to say. Gentlemen, this is a perfect specimen. Exquisite, exquisite.
I can't quite appreciate the humor in it myself. I saw it when I was still alive. I expect the university is going to want it for experiment and dissection. Frankly, I'll feel relieved when they come and take it off my hands.
I can't say I blame you. It is a little unhandy.
Took a house mover from Riverdale to get it here. Cost me half my savings. Besides wanting my money back, I'd like to get the high school board off my neck.
Suppose the university doesn't go for it.
They'd better. You think I'm going to all this bother really because I've come across a scientific wonder? Not a bit. Somewhere in that hideous carcass are the genes that control organic growth. Man, I better find out what made this creature so big. And find out fast, or we're all going to be in pretty serious trouble. Usually, if nature produces a freak, it dies immediately because it can't adapt itself to life. It's what we ordinarily call a bird spider. The wonder of it is it's perfect, Fraser. Perfect in every detail. Fraser, you hurt?
Are you sure that thing's dead?
Sure it's dead.
Well, how come it kicked me?
It's just a muscular contraction. Galvani's reaction, it's called. It often happens.
Not to me, it doesn't. If it can do that when it's dead, I sure hate to meet it somewhere alive.
Don't, Carol.
I can't help it, Mother.
I know. I loved him, too.
I keep thinking it was my fault.
How could it be?
Never would have happened if he hadn't gone to get me that present. Now I've lost it.
You mustn't think of it that way, Carol.
Why did I have to drop it in that cave? I wanted so much to keep it, Mother.
Forget about it now, dear. You have your homework to get ready for tomorrow. Oh, and I forgot. Mike called you twice before you got home from school and said he would be at his father's theater.
Thanks, Mother. Hello, Mr. Simpson. Can I talk to Mike?
Mike? You want it on the phone.
Oh, okay, thanks. Hello?
Hi, Mike. This is Carol. You said you'd take me out to the cave to find the bracelet.
You don't mean right now, do you?
If you can get away. Please, Mike.
Well, Carol, not today. My dad just got in a new picture, and I haven't even seen it yet. Something about puppet people. It sounds pretty wild.
Please?
Okay, Carol. I think I can borrow Joe's car again.
Only don't come by the house for me. I don't want Mother to know I'm going out there.
All right, I'll be down at the corner in 15 minutes.
I'll be waiting.
I'll see you, Dad. I got a date now. Where will you be? I said, where will you be if I want you?
Now, true story. Back in 2017, my family and I actually got to meet Bert I. Gordon in real life. We went to our favorite convention, Monster Bash, in Pittsburgh. It's actually just a little north of Pittsburgh. They do it twice a year in Pittsburgh, usually June and October, and then another show also in Ohio with our dear friends Ron Adams and the whole crew from Creepy Classics. But of all the Monster Bashes I went to every year, it's great. This was one of the most memorable ones. What a weekend that was. We not only met Mr. Big, and we got to have a copy of his book, his autobiography that he released in 2010, The Amazing Colossal Worlds of Mr. B.I.G., but we also got to sit down and talk to Larry Storch from F Troop. He enjoyed speaking Yiddish with my kids because of the Zoy Retmans and Alta Zeta, and who we met several times at the Bash and also at Blobfest and other conventions, the original creature from the Black Lagoon himself, Rico Browning. But also we got to catch up with all our old friends at the Bash. The whole place was buzzing with rubber monsters, autographs, and pure love for these old, wonderful films. So Bert was already in his 90s, but he was still sharp as a tack. I walked over, my heart was pounding more harder than the telltale heart. And I told him, you know, Mr. Gordon, I'm Rabbi Joe, and your movies, I have enjoyed them since my childhood. He looked me up and down. I'm a little bit taller than him. He grinned, and he gave me an autograph, and this was really something special. I actually also caught a little bit of his speech, his panel speech, only a few seconds. We'll share that here. This is a little clip from 2017. But then afterwards, my wife Millie and I, we sat down to talk about that unforgettable Monster Bash weekend. And so we'll play those back from 2017. So here's a man who created more giant monsters than Moses had plagues, and he was a total mensch about it. So now you're looking down on us from Gan Eden together with Flora and Shoshana. Bert, we thank you for the memories, the mayhem, and that signed poster and the signed books that we still have in our manor. You made this rabbi very happy and a little bit less afraid of spiders. So all right, enough schmoozing. Let's get back to the giant spider that's still causing all the tsuris on the screen. Roll it, Igor. Our great weekend at the Monster Bash. Want to recap some interesting things that I learned this weekend. I asked Bert I. Gordon quite a few questions. One of the most interesting questions that I think, that even though the questions I asked were not that interesting, so from those rather boring questions I asked, one of the most interesting that I asked, although the
answer wasn't complete, but it points us in the right direction. At the filming, at the Monster Bash, they showed the beginning of the end. So at one point in the film, they show headlines from newspapers. Now, if you pay attention to newspapers in old movies, you tend to have headlines underneath that say the following two. Below the top banner headline, you have these little headlines underneath. And inevitably, not always, but quite often you'll find the following two headlines: building code under fire and new petitions against tax. There's, I think, already from the 30s you'd find this, and certainly in the 40s and 50s, and even I think, trying to think of any movies in the 60s that might have it, but certainly in the 40s and 50s, building code under fire, new petitions against tax. You find it. So I asked Mr. Gordon if he knew why that was, and what he said was, he never noticed it, he didn't really aware of it, but basically was that when you made a headline for the newspapers for the movies, they would have all the stuff underneath was already pre-printed, and then they just printed the top headline for you. So that's even though it's not always in the same place if you pay attention to movies, but those will be very common headlines. So still, the mystery is still out there. Who wrote this? Who came up with this? But it wasn't. It answers part of the question, because the question was this like a running joke that filmmakers used, or was it, I guess, a running joke that the printers used? So we'll blame the printers and not the filmmakers for that one. I asked him also about a rather interesting thing. His first film was King Dinosaur, in which he used stock footage from 1 million BC. Not that much, though. He probably should have used a little bit more, actually, all things considered. But there was a film, and that was 1953, 54. They made King Dinosaur. In 1967, there was a Mexican movie called La Isla de los Dinosaurios. I'm not saying it right, because
Los Islos de los Dinosaurios.
I think it's Dinosaurios. I'm not sure exactly. It's been a long time since high school.
Well, I'm Hispanic,
Spanish, yeah. So that movie is mostly stock footage from 1 million BC. I tried watching, I fell asleep. I don't know. I have it on DVD. So I noticed, though, that at one point they actually used stock footage from King Dinosaur, of all things. It's the irony. I asked him about if they asked permission. He said no. So that, although I'm not sure if he was the one to ask permission from necessarily, because I don't know if it was, even though it was his film.
Was it even his footage?
Yeah, no, it was his footage that but I'm saying.
He shot it?
I don't know. Yeah, he shot it, but I don't know if he still had the rights to it or something. Right. Yeah.
That seems so crazy to me that you can make something, you could be creative and create something, and someone else could own it. It's like insanity to me. And it happens to me. It's like, I know that it happens, but like, it's also so crazy to me.
What was that we said, the Wuzzles?
Yeah, Wuzzles. That he told us, like,
Disney just took it from them.
Just stole it straight up.
Turn right onto Beulah Road.
We're going in circles. This is a terrible video. I'm ruining it.
No, it isn't. This is like a podcast now.
With special guest, Hayes, and all of her many opinions on things.
What did you want to share from Monster Bash?
Me?
Yeah.
That I learned that the beautiful that's
a great story.
Scene in Creature from the Black Lagoon, where the creature is
straight, right? We're going east.
But this says turn right here. Is this Beulah Road? This is Beulah Road, right?
No. Well, it doesn't say turn right. It says turn left.
I don't...
No, we want to be over there.
Okay.
We want to go... We're going east.
Sorry, person behind us. I am lost.
I'm not from around here.
So long story short, I learned that in the scene in the original Creature from the Black Lagoon, when the creature is swimming and he's like... Kay Lawrence is swimming and he's right behind her and he...
But like
takes
underneath
his hand
her.
and he's like underneath her and he almost misses her foot a few times. It's like this back and forth beautiful almost ballet of fear was not at all choreographed. That the director who directed the movie didn't even swim, so he would like look under the water with a face mask and he was in a freaking inner tube. And the I'm doing it New York style.
No, you're going straight.
I know, but I'm trying to get out of the people trying to
Look
turn
at that
right.
Donald Trump car. Look at that. What is that?
I don't know if it's cool.
I know.
Okay, now my turn. My turn.
Yeah. Are you still talking?
That really the guy who shot the movie, was that the cinematographer?
No, it was the cameraman.
The cameraman really did the directions underwater, and that Rico Browning could not see in the thing, and so all it says in the script is creature swims after Kay Lawrence. So like he couldn't see, so he had to flip over underneath her so that he could like face up and see her feet, and that they did not plan that at all. That beautiful and crazy, I mean, it's so tension building, and it's
kind of romantic,
terrifying, and yet so beautiful, and it's really beautiful swimming.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's almost like a ballet.
Yeah.
Like her foot goes one, kicks, and his hand just misses it. It's really an intense scene, and that was not planned at all.
Yeah.
And that was really cool.
So we're going back to Monster Bash next year?
I'm going back until I'm dead. I'm not kidding. I love it. I think it's utopia.
I've got a creepy new game, Spider Wars.
Wow!
It's crawling with fun. I knock off your spiders, you knock off mine. I love to make them dangle.
I love to make them splat.
I'm going for you next.
Bad move.
Where's you?
I win. Told you so.
I'm out of here.
Hey, wait!
Now you gotta beat me to be king of the web. Spider Wars from Milton Brand.
And now a message from the SPLC.
We've stopped the spiders from attacking by paying them handsomely, but we can't do it without you. Help the Spider Protection Legal Center maintain this delicate balance.
At the Spider Protection Legal Center, we are dedicated to stopping giant spiders, so we pay the giant spiders so we can fight them, because if there were no giant spiders, we would have no justification for our existence, not to mention losing power over politicians, exterminators, and social media, so be sure to support our efforts in fighting giant spiders by making sure there are giant spiders.
You can call to donate or send us checks, or you can visit us on the web.
Beware the spider.
What's the matter, afraid of a little old bug?
Beware the spider is the game where you try to remove all the crawly, creepy critters from the spider's web.
Yo, I don't want to touch it.
But beware, if you touch the web, you'll wake the sleeping spider.
Just one left. What's the matter, afraid of a little old bug?
Beware the spider, the crawly, creepy critter game from Ideal. 2 batteries not included.
Look at this. The coffee is piping hot. The toast is buttered. The eggs are precisely right. But sometimes it takes more than that to thaw out a husband. It takes special attention to personal details, like taking more effective care of your breath. Why count on toothpaste alone? The most common cause of bad breath is germs in the mouth. No toothpaste is antiseptic. So no toothpaste kills germs the way Listerine antiseptic does, instantly, by millions. That's why Listerine stops bad breath 4 times better than any toothpaste.
Listerine Antiseptic stops bad breath. 4 times better than any toothpaste. What a difference.
All right, I want to be serious for a moment. I know we made a lot of jokes about killing spiders with DDT, but the truth is the spider is nature's DDT. And a lot of folks feel that, well, they understand that and they don't want to kill spiders. So if they find a spider in their house, well, then they take the spider out, bring it outside. The problem with that is spiders who live in houses, they are not really equipped to live outdoors. So if you brought that spider outside, you probably killed it, at least indirectly. The Bible already tells us about spiders coming into the palaces of kings and so forth in the book of Proverbs. So, sorry to tell you, the only way to manage a spider is just to let it stay in the house. Now, if you don't want it in your house, you can bring it to your neighbor's house, or maybe bring it to some other house. There are plenty of houses you could think of where to put the spiders, but don't put them outside unless you don't care about the spider. All right, back to the show.
Now, back to Rabbi Joe's Midnight Monster Manor.
All right, my night owls and creature feature devotees, the lights are low, the popcorn's hot, and your friendly neighborhood Rebbe is ready. Tonight's feature is a Buick, Bird-Eye Gordon's 1958 classic, a little lesson in what happens when you bother an arachnid the size of a Buick.
I'll see you, Dad. I got a date now. Where will you be? I said, where will you be if I want you? Hey, Joe.
Hi.
Hey, you remember that $5 I loaned you?
Sure, it was last Christmas, and I paid it back.
Oh, well, all I mean is, I'm your friend. You know that,
You want to borrow $5?
Oh, no. Could Carol and I use your wagon for a couple of hours?
Again? What's the big deal?
Well, what do you care? Look, we're friends, Joe. Just remember that.
Why don't you come to the rehearsal?
Look, my mouth is getting tired. Are we friends or aren't we?
Okay. The car's in the driveway. You'll find the keys in the
glove compartment. Where else?
Why do I have so many friends?
Thanks, Joe.
Sure.
Come on, Joe, we got problems. No soaps, it's off limits. I told you.
Look, we gotta get in. The dance is tomorrow night. Well, the cats will have a blast if we don't swing solid. Hey, let's get the janitor. Maybe he'll open the pad.
Oh, not with Mr. Egg-Leg still in there.
Well, they can't hang us for trying, can they? Hugo!
Hugo!
Hey, Hugo!
Hugo!
Who's calling Hugo? Well, now, what's the matter here?
We want in. We've got to develop our talents.
I didn't have to use the auditorium till further notice. The principal's orders.
No can do. The drama class is there.
I can't help that. Kingman is just here checking up. Told me particular not to let nobody in.
Well, Kingman didn't meet us. He meant Squares. We're the coolest zoologists in town.
No, sirree. The moving people are coming here tonight to move that thing to the university. You can rehearse all you want to afterwards.
In the dead of night, Hugo, we're only little kids. Mommy wouldn't let us.
Well, all right, you monsters. And now I want you to behave yourself. Don't monkey with that thing.
Dig that? Now, the first guy who steps on Daddy Longlegs is going to hear from Hugo.
Yeah.
Great. It's big, all right. Hey, maybe the drama class is through with the auditorium. Let's blow this place. It gives me the creeps.
What is it, Superman? Chickening out?
Well, certainly not.
Well, then let's stop goofing off, huh? Now, guys, start with the opening number. And don't go to sleep on it. Play with everything you've got. Loud enough to wake the dead, huh? Play it good and loud. Okay. goes on here?
It's a drama class. What else?
All right, either you come in or get out. But don't stand there and scream. We're rehearsing. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, okay, let's go.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Anyone comes for me, I'll be at Sanders' funeral. I'll get it. Great guy Pete Sanders was. You've got plenty to live up to. Sheriff's office, Cagle speaking. What? All right, Mr. Kingman. I'll meet you at the school. You stay here and answer the phone.
Helen.
What is it, Art?
Be a good idea if you stayed inside the house for a while.
Oh, well, I was just going to take the baby for his checkup and do some shopping for dinner.
Stay in the house, Helen, no matter what. I'll be back as soon as I can.
This is Sheriff Cagle speaking. How's that call to the Capitol coming? Well, hurry it up. We want action here.
Get off the streets!
Hello? Hello. Sheriff Cagle, River Falls. Hello?
Get off the streets!
Hello? Hello? Operator, I've been cut off. Okay, sister. Well, that's that. The long-distance lines are down.
I got my motorcycle out back.
How long would it take you to get to Springdale on it?
Maybe an hour, maybe less.
Go ahead. And get the governor on the phone. Tell him we've got to have troops from Fort Brown. Also flamethrowers and artillery. Tell him we need... DDT?
No good. That stuff just stunned it.
All right, Dave, on your way.
Wait, Dave.
All right, Dave, go ahead.
Still too soon for the troops to be here.
I know. I thought they might fly a few men in with whirlybirds.
I'll give them time.
Hey, isn't that Jake? Wait a minute, Jake. Where to, Jake?
I'm evacuating. That darn monster run me out of house and home.
Which way was it heading?
Toward Maple Street. I've had it.
Maple Street. Helen.
I think that's just right now. Come on, just a little bit.
All right, Helen. It's gone away. Help should be here soon. Now take it easy. Just take it easy. Sheriff? Any news from Springdale yet?
Not a word. Good. Kingman says the spider's headed south along the old Higgins Road.
At least the town's safe.
Mike, will you help me look for it?
Yeah, okay. This isn't getting us anywhere. Why don't I buy you another bracelet?
Wouldn't be the same at all.
Besides, I'm broke. Well, when was the last time you remember having it?
Well, it was just before I fell in the web. I was up there, and then I stumbled. If I dropped it then, it should be around here somewhere. Mike.
Find it?
No, but there's an opening down here. Do you think it could have fallen through?
Hey, it looks like there's another cave down there. Maybe we can get into it through this opening over here. Come on. Wow, there must be hundreds of these caves down here.
Look for my bracelet.
Oh, I am looking. Here it is. I guess you're happy now, huh?
Oh, I am, no kidding.
Good, then I guess we can go home. Let's see, which way?
That way.
Okay, only this time let me keep this thing for you till we get out, okay? Come on.
You had enough spiders around here. Well, help ought to be here soon now. Sheriff Cagle again, sister. How soon before those long-distance lines to Springdale are going to get fixed? Another 2 hours, maybe. Okay, sister. Keep working on it. Open the door, will you, Simpson?
It's Dave.
Where did you find him?
It's corner of Maple and Horton. He never got to Springdale for help.
That puts us right back where we started.
And all we've got to do is sit right here and wait for that thing to come back and finish us all off.
I was all in favor of sealing off that cave some time ago while the monster was still in it. Wasn't I, Kingman?
You can do it right now. It went back to the cave. Yes, sir, I've seen it.
The thing to do is to get lumber out there and board that entrance up tight.
Boards won't hold it.
Any better ideas?
You're the road foreman, aren't you, Mr. Haskell?
I am.
Do you have enough dynamite to blow up the cave entrance?
I can blow up half that hill if you want me to.
Okay, Sam, go ahead and get the stuff. We'll meet you at your place.
Right.
Simpson, you've been sworn in. Take care of the office for me till I get back, and call the coroner. The rest of you boys come with us.
Sheriff's Office, Simpson speaking.
Oh, hello, Mr. Simpson. This is Joe, Mike's friend. Remember me?
Oh, yes, Joe. What's the trouble?
I better tell the sheriff.
Well, he's not here now. Maybe you'd better tell me. What is it, Joe?
Well, it's about my heap. Somebody mooched it off of me today to go for a ride. And it isn't back yet. After what that spider did this afternoon, well, I was just wondering if...
Well, it's a good idea to check. What's the boy's name?
Well, it was Mike and Carol Flynn. Did they get back yet?
No. At least I haven't seen them. Did he say where they might be heading?
No, sir.
Thank you, Joe. I'll look into it.
Hello?
Mrs. Flynn, this is Mike Simpson's father.
Didn't take us this long to come in, did it?
Sure it did. You just forget.
What time is it?
I don't know. I haven't got a watch.
Got a feeling it's late.
It's still light.
Don't kid me. That's luminous algae. Grows on cave walls and it shines. Don't you remember Mr. Kingman told our science class?
All right, but from the next cavern you'll see daylight outside. You want to bet?
I don't see any daylight.
I goofed.
We've never been in this cave before either. We're lost.
I know.
Well, let's hurry up and find our way out.
That's what I'm doing. I figure if we just go straight ahead, we'll come to the part we know. Come on, let's go this way.
Mike, we can't go any further. Get in.
There's gotta be another way out. What we gotta do is find it.
Mike, look. There's something written on the wall.
What did I tell you? There have been people through here before. George Weston. Lost April 9th, 1902.
Mike! He must have starved to death. I'm getting awfully worried, Mike.
Me too, Carol.
Well, why did I ever have to bring you down here? It's all my fault. What do you suppose your mother's thinking?
Well, they wouldn't tell her. She's in the hospital having a baby.
What about your dad?
He's a pretty good Joe. I think he can take it.
My mother can't. Not after what happened to my father.
Don't make yourself feel bad, Carol.
Don't you read it, then?
You know, all of a sudden I feel hungry.
Me too.
I just remembered I've got a candy bar with me.
All right, you men, make it snappy. Let's get that gear off that truck.
Carol always lets me know when she isn't coming home. Always. But today, I don't know, she just wasn't herself. She attached too much importance to that bracelet. Oh, I hope she and Mike haven't gone back to that cave.
Carol, do you see? This is the place where we got lost. Now I know the way. It's through there.
Yeah, but the spider, Mike.
If we stay here, it'll find us. Come on, let's run. There's the hole we fell through. We haven't got far to go now. Come on, climb up through the web. Come on.
I'm stuck.
Give me your hand. Give me your hand. Come on.
Bill, Pete, let's get that extra dynamite out of here.
Well, that'll be the end of our spider's nest, eh, Kingman?
And the spider.
That's what you said last time.
Now, this time it's for sure. It's gotta die. No living organism can survive for long once its food supply is cut off.
We'll be ready to blow her up in a couple seconds.
Well, let her blow when you're ready. Get way back, all you men. I don't want anyone hurt.
Isn't that Joe's car over there?
Well, yes, it is.
Please do something.
You sealed them up. You're going to have to open that cave and get them out.
Now, don't get excited. We're going to do everything for them we can. How do we go about it, Haskell?
Open up the cave again? That's easy to say, Sheriff, but it's going to take some doing. Well, we blew up tons of earth and rock over that opening. Brought half the hillside down.
Well, then we better start clearing it away.
It'll take days, maybe a week even.
Well, there isn't that much time. If the spider doesn't get them, the bad air will.
Well, then we better get going. The sooner the better. You've got a car. Go into town and get them to send out a bulldozer.
Wait, maybe a quicker way than that. See that flat shelf a little higher up the mountain? Suppose we dug straight down from there.
How about it, Haskell?
Looks good to me. Let's get those ropes, picks, and shovels out of that truck. Here's where we go to work.
You don't want to look at it like that, Mrs. Flynn. You've got to remember that cave is a big place, and those kids have a lot of sense. They'll find places where the spider can't get at them.
If we do dig our way in, what's to keep it from getting at us?
I don't know. What do you say, Kingman?
We gotta have some kind of an effective weapon against it, that's obvious. That power line across the hills. If we could bring a cable over from there.
Well, what for?
Well, let's see if we can electrocute the beast.
Know where we can find a quarter-mile of insulated copper cable this side of Springdale?
You might try the express line. Seems to me I saw a lot of that stuff in there.
You want to go for it in the truck, Simpson?
Yeah.
I'm sure you wouldn't waste any time getting it back.
How's it coming?
Not bad, but we have plenty to go.
Carol? Carol!
Where is it?
Let's go. Can you make it?
I'll be all right.
We struck granite.
Come on up and let me get down there.
Is this the place we came in?
I'm sure it was.
It blew up the opening.
What did we do? What was that?
Sounds like blasting. I bet they know we're in here. I bet they're trying to get us out. Help!
Help! Help!
Help!
Help!
They can't hear us. Maybe if we get closer to where they're working.
Mike! Carol, we hear you!
It's Kingman. They've heard us.
Now, this is the power line foreman, Kingman. He's going to help us when the cable gets here. I thought you'd be the one to brief him on what we're doing.
Well, my idea is to tie into that power line, take a couple of electrodes into the cave, get the spider between them, and turn on the juice.
We want to create an electric arc, you see, so it jumps through its body like a bolt of lightning.
You think it'll work?
It could. How about electrodes?
Simpson's bringing them. Have you got tools and rubber gloves?
In my Jeep. All we need is the cable and I'm ready to go.
That could be Simpson now.
Ledge. If we can get out far enough on it, the spider can't follow us. Don't be scared. Just hold on to me.
Mike,
Yeah, what?
there's nothing to walk on over here.
Okay.
We can't get back.
Give me that pick. Does that sound hollow or am I crazy? We broke through. You hear me? We broke through.
are they doing down there? Is Carol all
We're
right?
going down after them now, Mrs. Flynn. It may take a little while before we find them, but we'll send up news as fast as we can. As soon as I get down there, pass along the cable and the electrodes. Keep it coming. See that I have plenty of slack. No telling how much I'll need once I'm below.
But don't go down yet. Wait for the equipment.
You wait for the equipment. See you below.
The rest of you men follow that equipment.
Carol! Mike! Carol! Mike!
Hey, Carol, it's them. They're coming for us. What did I tell you? Hey, we're in here. Help! Help!
Why don't we split up?
All right. You men stay here.
Sheriff, better go armed.
Yeah, let's have my rifle.
Mike! Mike!
Carol, look.
Sheriff, this way! Catch, Mike!
I got it. Now what?
There's a rubber glove. Put it on. Here we go. Tell him to hook us up. Okay!
Okay.
Okay! Turn off the juice. Hold it! Hold it! Hold it! Let's get the kids off the ledge.
Oh, Sheriff, where's Carol? Where is she?
She's all right, Mrs. Flynn. We had a little trouble getting the kids off a narrow ledge they were trapped on. Excuse me.
Oh, Carol. Carol. I'm awfully sorry. I didn't mean to scare you this way. Honestly, I couldn't help it.
Flynn. Mike, you're all right?
I'm okay. Guess I was a lot of trouble to you, wasn't I, Dad?
Come on, son.
Go on up. Well, it's all right. Everything's out of the cavern. I checked.
Yeah, thanks, Jake.
Good night, Sheriff.
Night, Haskell. Thanks for everything. Sure took you long enough down there.
I was checking up.
Anything left behind?
Nothing but a dead spider.
Well, this time he's going to stay dead. Dead and buried.
Let's say at least until some egghead comes along and digs it up again.
Well, my dear friends, the spider is finally defeated. The town is mostly saved. The high school band can breathe again, and we've all learned a very important lesson tonight. Never ever store your radioactive cave junk near a high school, because if you do, you'll wind up with one very large, very hungry arachnid who thinks the marching band is an all-you-can-eat buffet. Oy. And if you do, make sure you have plenty of electricity just to zap those big bugs. Well, until next time, stay safe out there in the dark, stay spooky, and remember the wise words of a very nervous president. The only thing we have to fear is fear itself and eight-legged monsters with serious grudge against DDT and teenagers. So check your basements tonight, check under the bed, and if you hear anything scuttling with more than 4 legs, just say a quick Shema and call the pest control minion. Go, good night, drive home safe, and l'chaim. Thank you for joining Rabbi Joe's Midnight Monster Manor, where the monsters meet their match and a little Torah wisdom. Well, good night, Arnold Ziffel, wherever you are.
Shalom again, night creatures. I'm Rabbi Joe, and you're back in the Midnight Monster Manor. Tonight we've got ourselves a classic creep show. Tell him, Bonesy.
The Sphinx of the Swamp!
It's a moister mummy, baby.
You heard the mensch. Bandages, gaiters, and more.
I'm spending Hanukkah in Santa Monica, wearing sandals, lighting candles by the sea. I spent Shavuos in East St. Louis, a charming spot, but clearly not the spot for me. Those eastern winters, I can't endure 'em, so every year I pack my gear and come out here till Purim. Rosh Hashanah I spend in Arizona, and Yom Kippur way down in Mississippi. And though I try to get my ass over to Tel Aviv for Passover, I always end up down in Tennessee. But in December, there's just one place for me. Amid the California flora, I'll be lighting my menorah like a baby in his cradle. I'll be playing with my dreidel. Here's to Judas Maccabeus, boy, if he could only see us spending Hanukkah in Santa Monica by the sea.
Yibunei HaMikdash, Hirtzio in Temala.